So I'm Olwethu Shedi. I'm a PhD candidate at the University of Witwatersrand. But within SCIS, I am a visiting researcher within the pre-distribution project. And I've been with the center since January 2025. INQA is about the impact of public interest remedies on competition policy, specifically competition law. And so essentially what we're doing with the paper is trying to look at the application of public interest remedies, how it has evolved from the introduction of public interests in competition policy and competition law, and up to, I think, 2024, but it was 2020. Can't remember the years, but essentially we are looking at how the application of public interest has evolved over time by the competition authorities. So initially, when public interests were recently introduced into competition policy, into the Competition Act, the competition authorities were very conservative in the application. They were only using a few public interest remedies because it was still a relatively new concept in competition law, specifically for South Africa. And so we were tracking that, essentially how aggressive they were in their application, and we kind of tracked those over 3 time periods. And so in the time periods that we track, we see that initially, I think it was around the late 1990s to the early 2000s, like 2005 to 2009, the application was very conservative. They were looking at improving public interest conditions like employment, making sure that there isn't any retrenchments as a result of mergers or competition policy transactions. And then the second period that we kind of observed was where they were coming, they were starting to get into the group of things, into the group of things in the application of public interest. And we saw a wide range of public interest being attached to kind of merger transactions. And this period coincides with the big merger cases like AB InBev, the Coca-Cola mergers, where we saw a wide range of conditions being attached to mergers before their approval. And so those conditions included like participation of SMEs, in addition to the employment and retrenchment moratoriums that were very prevalent initially. But for the first time, I think it was in 2020 or 2021, there was the Burger King merger that was kind of prohibited based on public interest remedies. And so we saw kind of, the weight of public interest in competition policy, that now it's become an act of balancing both public interest and the competition considerations. And so that's essentially what we're looking at in the paper, kind of the application of public interest and how prominent they have become in kind of deciding in merger cases, deciding in any abuse of dominance cases. What inspired the paper for us was the state, the socio-economic outcomes of the country, so like the high levels of employment and the unequal outcomes in the market. So because of the kind of like the past imbalances, we still see those unequal outcomes play out. And so it was really interesting for us to see that this very innovative tool within competition policy that takes into account specifically socioeconomic outcomes, how it's being implemented over time and what impact has it had post-implementation. And so the key things that I take away from me, like the very important thing is the public interest tool within competition policy, that there is an acknowledgement from policy and law that it is not just the market outcomes that affect the distribution of wealth and the distribution of income that we see, but it is also the legacy of racial segregation in South Africa. And so we cannot move the needle for the previously disadvantaged if we do not first provide them an equal footing with the previously advantaged individuals. And so that is a very big thing, that acknowledgement from kind of like policy, government, and private practice, that this is something that needs to be addressed before we can then look at the market outcomes. I think everyone should read the paper, really, because I think in conversations with people that are kind of like outside, even with friends and family, when they ask me what do you do, and I say I am a researcher specifically focused in competition policy or competition law, people don't understand what that is, and they don't even understand what competition tribunal commission does. The people who should read it is not only kind of like academics to kind of get an understanding of what is provided for you by law. It's not research that people are coming up with, but it's something that's provided within the Act. And so, yeah, I think everyone should read the paper.